Welcome to the deep dive.
Good to be diving in again.
Today we're tackling testosterone.
T.
We've gone through the research you highlighted, and we want to distill the real core science here, make it actionable.
Absolutely. It's such a fundamental hormone, often called that mother androgenic hormone.
Yeah, it really influences almost everything, doesn't it? Muscle, mood, bone density,
Yeah,
drive.
definitely. And while, a lot of the focus tends to be on men, it's absolutely vital for women's health too.
Good point. So our mission today, understand what T is, how it works, especially these two critical metabolic pathways everyone talks about.
Right. And then pull out those, I think we landed on 8 natural strategies from the research, things you can actually do.
Exactly. Ways to maintain or even elevate healthy levels, particularly, as we get older.
Okay, let's lay the groundwork.
Right, the basics. The research kept hammering this point. T is a steroid hormone.
And that term should immediately make you think.
Cholesterol.
Ah, yes. The precursor material. Precisely. It's like the fundamental building block. Testosterone, cortisol, estrogen, they're all derived directly from cholesterol.
So if your diet is super low in fat or lacks cholesterol,
Then the body simply doesn't have the raw materials. It can't build the hormone effectively. It's a direct link to nutrition we can't ignore.
makes sense. So assuming the building blocks are there, where does the production actually happen?
Okay, so in men, the main production site is the testes. The adrenal glands chip in a smaller amount too.
And for women?
It's the adrenal glands and also the outer layer of the ovaries.
Got it. Now, once it's made and released into the bloodstream, the data shows this huge difference between total T and the T that actually does something.
That's a critical distinction. A huge chunk, maybe 97% of the testosterone floating around in your system is actually bound up.
Bound to what?
Mostly transport proteins. The main one is sex hormone binding globulin, SHBG. Think of it like a taxi that keeps the T locked inside.
Okay, so it's circulating, but it's inactive, locked away.
Exactly. Which means the real focus needs to be on the remaining fraction.
The freaky.
Precisely. Only about 3% of your total T is in this free form. That's the portion that's biologically active. It's the only part that can actually bind to the androgenic receptors in your cells and, do its job.
So all the strategies we'll talk about, they really need to aim at boosting that free active T, not just the total number.
That's the key takeaway for effectiveness, yes.
Okay, now for what feels like the central conflict, maybe. Once T is free and available, it hits this fork in the road. 2 main enzymatic paths.
Yeah, it's a metabolic decision point. And where it goes really dictates a lot about your physical and even mental state.
Path A. That's the preferred one for men, right? The androgenic route.
That's the one. This involves an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase.
And what does that do?
It converts testosterone into dihydrotestosterone, or DHT.
DHT, that's the really potent one.
It's the most potent androgen, super active. This is what drives a lot of those classic male characteristics that kick in during adolescence. Deeper voice, body hair.
But also things we want later, like muscle mass capacity.
Exactly. Increased muscle mass, strong libido. It even impacts cognitive aspects.
Okay, you mentioned cognitive aspects. The research links strong DHT to focus, maybe ambition, but also irritability. Mala Leshy, as one source put it. Is that like an inevitable trade-off?
That's a really insightful question. The research suggests it's a characteristic of its potency. DHT drives that focus, that intensity, which is good. But yeah, its sheer power can sometimes tip into aggression or irritability if other things, like stress, aren't managed.
So we need the pathway for physical benefits, but maybe need to manage the psychological edge elsewhere.
That seems to be the implication. You want that 5-alpha reductase working well, but you manage the effects holistically.
Okay. Then there's path B, the estrogenic route. This is the one we generally want to limit in men.
Right. This pathway uses a different enzyme, aromatase.
And aromatase converts T into?
Estradiol, the main female hormone. Now, men do need some estradiol for various functions, but...
But too much conversion is bad news.
Yeah, very bad news. If too much T gets shunted down this path, you see those undesirable effects. Gynecomastia, the increase in breast tissue fluid retention, fat accumulation, emotional swings, changes in libido, even prostate inflammation.
So the hormonal health goal is pretty clear then.
Yeah.
Encourage the 5-alpha reductase path for more DHT and put the brakes on aromatase to limit estradiol.
That's the balancing act.
And this balance becomes even more crucial as you age.
Absolutely critical. The research points to the age range of 35 to 40 as a key turning point.
What happens then?
Well, total T levels can start to drop, maybe by 25% or so, but perhaps more importantly, the levels of that crucial free T, and especially DHT, tend to decrease significantly.
And the impact of that decline.
It hits hard. Reduced capacity for muscle building and recovery, poorer bone mineralization, drops in sexual function, libido, sperm production, and those negative emotional shifts we talked about.
So being proactive before or around that age is key.
Definitely. You want to support the right pathways long term.
All right, let's get practical. The actionable stuff. The 8 strategies the research suggests can help us naturally manage this whole system. Strategy 1, strategic exercise.
Okay, exercise. But not just any exercise.
Right, the research was specific. It mentioned lactic acid signaling. What's that about?
It points towards anaerobic training. We're talking strength training, powerlifting, high-intensity interval training, HIT.
The intense stuff.
Exactly. These activities cause microscopic tears in the muscles and produce metabolic byproducts like lactic acid. This essentially sends a distress signal.
A distress signal that boosts T. How?
It forces the body into a state of needing immediate repair and adaptation. This stimulates the hypothalamus pituitary gonadal axis, or HPG axis.
The HPG axis. That's like the master control system.
Pretty much. It governs reproduction and metabolism. The hypothalamus signals the pituitary gland.
Which then signals the gonads, the testes in this case.
Right. The pituitary releases gonadotropins that travel to the testes and basically tell them, hey, we need more testosterone stat. The intense exercise triggers this high-priority signal.
Okay, HPG axis stimulation via intense exercise. But there's a huge warning label here, isn't there?
A critical one. Overtraining.
Doing too much.
Way too much. Hitting those heavy anaerobic sessions 6-7 days a week, maybe double sessions, without enough rest, it completely backfires.
Why?
Because that kind of chronic, unrelenting physical stress skyrockets your cortisol levels.
And cortisol is?
Cortisol is a direct testosterone antagonist. It crushes T production. So intensity, yes, but strategic intensity with proper recovery.
Got it. Strategy 2, control body fat percentage, BFP.
Yeah.
The research suggested an ideal range for men, something like 10% up to maybe 15–16%. Why is fat levels so directly tied to T?
It comes back to that enzyme aromatase.
The one that converts T to estradiol.
Exactly. And guess where aromatase loves to hang out? In body fat, especially that visceral fat around the abdomen.
Ah, so if your body fat percentage creeps up, say towards 20%, 22%.
You're essentially creating an environment where any testosterone you do produce is much more likely to be immediately converted into estrogen. You're chemically favoring the wrong pathway.
Okay, so too high is bad, but the research also warned against going too low, right? Like 5–6% body fat.
Correct. Extremely low body fat signals danger to the body, like a metabolic crisis or starvation state.
The body's response.
It slams the brakes on metabolically expensive processes, including hormone production. T levels drop, and another hormone, prolactin, can actually go up as the body tries to conserve resources.
So it's a balancing act again. Not too high, not too low. A healthy, stable range.
Exactly. Hormonal health thrives in that balanced zone.
Strategy 3, nutrition. We already hit the importance of fats because T comes from cholesterol.
Yep. Those old-school ultra-low-fat diets were basically starving the T production factory of its essential raw materials. We need sufficient healthy fats.
Okay, fats are crucial. Now the other side. The danger of refined carbs and high glycemic loads. What's the link to T?
It's all about insulin resistance. Regularly bombarding your system with high glycemic carbs, think refined flours, sugars can lead to your cells becoming less responsive to insulin.
And insulin resistance messes with T how?
It causes an elevation in that binding protein we mentioned earlier, SHBG.
6-hormone binding globulin.
Right. When SHBG levels go up, it locks away more testosterone. So even if your total T production is okay, your free active T plummets. You end up with symptoms of low T because the hormone can't get to the receptors.
Wow. Okay, so managing blood sugar and insulin sensitivity is key for free T. The research also mentioned intermittent fasting, IF here.
Yes, IF seems to have several positive effects. It can help improve insulin sensitivity, which is crucial. It might also boost morning dopamine levels.
We'll get to dopamine later. That's important too.
Definitely. And IF might also help the body process and eliminate certain endocrine disruptors like bisphenols and phthalates, which tend to get stored in fat tissue.
Interesting. Okay. Strategy 4. Specific dietary modulators. Foods that can actively help. The research mentioned cruciferous vegetables.
Right. Broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, that family.
What's special about them?
They contain a compound called indole 3-carbinol.
And its function.
It acts as an aromatase inhibitor. It helps put the brakes on that T to estradiol conversion pathway.
So we need to eat, like, mountains of broccoli.
Huh, probably not mountains. But regular, consistent inclusion in your diet seems to be enough to provide a modulating effect, helping to manage estrogen levels.
Good to know. And there was also a caution flag raised about soy.
Yes, particularly high consumption. Soy contains
Or
phytoestrogens,
plant-based estrogens.
molecules that are structurally similar enough to estrogen that they can actually bind to the same sexual hormone receptors in your body.
So they compete with testosterone.
Essentially, yes. If you consume large amounts, these phytoestrogens can occupy the receptors, potentially blocking T from binding and doing its job properly. It's an issue of receptor site competition.
Okay, something to be mindful of, especially with high intake. Strategy 5. Elevate dopamine. This links back to stress, doesn't it?
It does. It's about managing the chemical consequences of stress. Chronic stress, whether it's physical from overtraining, emotional, or from lack of sleep, elevates a hormone called prolactin.
Prolactin. Usually associated with lactation, but it does other things.
Yes, and high levels in men are problematic. High prolactin interferes with the signals from the pituitary gland, those gonadotropins we talked about.
The signal's telling the testes to make T.
Exactly. If prolactin levels are too high, that signal gets disrupted or weakened. The testes don't get the message efficiently, and T production slows down.
Okay, so high stress leads to high prolactin, which inhibits T production. Where does dopamine fit in?
Dopamine acts as a natural counteragent to prolactin. They have an inverse relationship. Higher dopamine tends to suppress prolactin release.
Ah, so boosting dopamine helps lower prolactin, clearing the way for the T signal.
That's the mechanism.
And how do we boost dopamine naturally?
Well, IF can help, as we mentioned. Ketogenic diets are also known to sometimes increase dopamine. And then there are supplements, precursors like L-tyrosine, or herbs like mucuna pruriens, which contains LD-OBE, a direct dopamine precursor.
Interesting connection there. Strategy 6, caution with drugs and toxins. This seemed really important things that can directly interfere.
Absolutely. The research flags several common medications, certain beta blockers, some antihypertensives.
But the big one discussed was finasteride, used for hair loss, right?
Yes, commonly prescribed for male pattern baldness, alopecia.
And its mechanism.
It works by directly inhibiting the 5-alpha reductase enzyme.
Wait, that's the enzyme we said we want working well, the one that converts T to the potent DHT.
Exactly. So finasteride reduces DHT, which does help slow hair loss because DHT is involved in follicle miniaturization, but
What's your systemic cost?
a potentially massive one. By tanking DHT levels, it can significantly impact all the positive things DHT does: muscle growth and recovery, sexual function and potency, libido, even mood, and cognitive sharpness.
So it's a major trade-off that needs careful consideration and monitoring.
Absolutely. Anyone considering or using it needs to be aware of the potential hormonal impact. The research also noted a specific drug used for insulin sensitivity, metformin. Yes, metformin, very common. The study cited suggested that doses above 850 milligrams per day were associated with a drop in free T levels, not total T necessarily, but the active fraction.
Another important detail for people managing metabolic health, and finally, under toxins, alcohol.
Specifically, alcohol abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Chronic heavy drinking puts a major strain on the liver.
Leading to toxic hepatitis.
Right. And an impaired liver is less efficient at filtering out excess estrogens and xenoestrogens, estrogen-like compounds from the environment.
So the body can't clear them effectively.
Exactly. This leads to higher circulating estrogen levels, which directly opposes testosterone and can even contribute to things like gynecomastia.
Okay, clear risks there. Strategy 7, adaptogens and supplements. What are the key players, according to the research?
Well, first, the absolute non-negotiables seem to be vitamin D and zinc.
Vitamin D. How does that help?
It appears essential for the efficient release and function of T. Many people are deficient, especially in winter or with low sun exposure, so levels should be checked.
And zinc.
Zinc acts as a modulator, specifically an inhibitor of the aromatase enzyme.
So it helps block that T to estrogen conversion again.
Correct. Helping to keep estrogen in check and support T levels.
Makes sense. What about adaptogens?
Ashwagandha was mentioned frequently. It primarily works by supporting the adrenal glands, helping the body cope with stress, which can indirectly support DHEA and T release. Fenugreek is another common one, often cited for T support.
And there was one more. Epimedium.
Yes, epimedium, better known as horny goatweed.
Kitschy name. What does it do?
It seems to have a dual action. It might act as a mild T precursor or mimic, and it inhibits an enzyme called phosphodiesterase 5 or PDE5.
BD5. Yeah. Is that what drugs like Viagra target?
Exactly. Inhibiting PDE5 leads to increased nitric oxide levels, which improves blood flow and circulation. This is beneficial for vascular health generally, and specifically helpful for libido and erection quality, which are often impacted by low T.
Interesting. So a combination of direct support and circulatory benefits. Finally, strategy 8, the foundation. Relax and prioritize quality sleep.
This is arguably the most important one. You can nail the exercise, diet, and supplements, but if you're chronically stressed and sleep deprived, none of it will work optimally. It underpins everything.
Why is it so fundamental? Remind us of that stress cascade.
Okay, so chronic stress, lack of sleep, constant worry, overtraining triggers high cortisol. We know that's bad. It also triggers high prolactin.
Double trouble.
Right, and what happens when cortisol and prolactin are high? Dopamine levels tend to plummet.
The hormone we need to keep prolactin in check.
Precisely. So you get this cascade. High cortisol, high prolactin, low dopamine. The result: a collapse in both total and free testosterone levels, while simultaneously estrogen conversion often accelerates because the body is in a state of chronic stress or survival mode.
It really highlights how interconnected it all is.
It really does. You have to listen to your body. Signs like persistent joint pain, trouble waking up even after decent sleep, poor sleep quality itself. These are signals that your body isn't achieving homeostasis.
And without homeostasis, T production suffers.
Absolutely. Rest and stress management aren't optional luxuries. They are prerequisites for healthy hormone production. Hashtag tag Outworm.
So, wrapping this all up,
Mhm.
what's the big picture for you, the listener? We've seen just how crucial testosterone is across the board. Sexual health, yes, but also cognitive function, your mood, your physical strength and recovery.
And achieving optimal levels isn't about one magic bullet. It's about understanding this interplay, especially the balance between that potent DHT pathway and controlling excess estradiol.
Right. It's about mastering these 8 areas we discussed: the strategic exercise, the body fat control, the right nutrition focusing on fats and insulin, managing stress to boost dopamine, avoiding key toxins and drugs, using targeted supplements like vitamin D and zinc, and absolutely prioritizing rest.
It's a cohesive, systemic approach. Focusing on just one piece, like only hitting the gym hard without addressing diet or stress, will likely yield limited results. They all work together.
Which brings us to a final thought, something for you to maybe explore further. We saw a clear example with finasteride, how targeting just one enzyme, 5-alpha reductase, has these really profound system-wide trade-offs between hair retention and, well, everything else DHT does.
Yeah, it's a powerful illustration of metabolic intervention.
So the provocative question is, what other common things, maybe substances we consume, activities we do, environmental factors we're exposed to, things often seen as harmless, might be subtly manipulating that critical balance between the DHT pathway and the estradiol pathway without us even realizing it?
What other enzymes or metabolic regulators might we be unintentionally nudging every single day, potentially shifting that balance away from optimal health and vitality? It's definitely food for thought and an area where more awareness could make a big difference.
Something to consider as you apply this knowledge. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.